Democrats, the Republicans, MSNBC, CNN, Fox News, and all the warmongers agree on an issue. What do we know about that issue?
Well, they're always united on imperialism. They're always united on foreign policy and intervention. They are always going to stick together and really kind of just frame the narrative when it comes to a lot of these countries by, blaming socialism, blaming communism. But they are together, you know what I'm saying? And they are together for a purpose. And there's no mistake about that. And so when usually they're saying one thing, especially when it comes to foreign policy, because that's one of the things we talked about, the way Joe Biden's foreign policy was actually worse than Donald Trump's. And that just tells it all, that there is no split when it comes to American imperialism, when it comes to either party. It's just an illusion. So when they're saying one thing, look the other way, because they're not going to tell you what's really happening. They're just all of them. I literally, Niko, I've had people who are conservatives.
Hold up. You're going too far.
Sorry.
I want to walk.
Too much coffee.
I need to walk. Yes, it is too much coffee. I had a whole. I don't know if y'all know about colada if y'all from Miami, but Lord Jesus, he had a whole one.
Good.
That was not smart. But so I want to walk people through this. 'Cause I need them to understand.
Yeah.
We got something at a baby step. So. In Denmark, what would you consider the country of Denmark economically? Mostly, what would be their ideology?
Socialism.
Okay. In Norway, what would you consider it to be?
Same answer. Socialism.
England, for the most part, even with the conservative government right now.
Socialism with a good Medicare for all program.
Mm-hmm. Maternal leave. Okay.
Yeah, no shit.
Sweden.
Socialism.
Switzerland's kind of, I would say half and half. They don't want for anything, I'll tell you that shit. Do you see anybody running away from these countries, Pasta?
No, I do not.
Okay. You see anybody bombing them?
No, I do not.
Do you think that might have something in common? That one might be correlated with the other?
Maybe.
Okay. I just want to make sure, because I hear a lot of people who understand what imperialism is when it comes to the issue of Palestine or Syria or Libya now, or Iraq or Afghanistan or even Venezuela. I would say there are a lot of people who are better on Venezuela than they once were. But the moment that Cuba gets brought up, half of the goddamn world's brain breaks. And I understand. I'm a very patient person because we understand how imperialist psyops work here at the MCSC network, and almost nobody understands more than our girl Fiorella Isabel, and she does a fantastic job on her recent video just exposing the hell out of this whole thing. So we're gonna check out some clips from Fee's video, and me and Pops are gonna talk about this because this is, it's Fee, so I'm not surprised by it, but y'all gotta hear this.
The dependence on the West simultaneously, that does force them to have limits, right? Without the U.S. propaganda, that's why it's so hard to get internet over there. Without the U.S. propaganda, people are less likely to fall for the traps of Western imperialism. So here are the lies about Cuba by Disclosed TV. Just in, mass protests erupt in several cities in Cuba over the poor state of socialized medical system. Protesters demand freedom from communist dictatorship. It's just really interesting how this is worded. Americans it costs so much money, especially during a pandemic. The vaccines have been largely unreliable as well, and Cuba has developed their own vaccine, and before that they were using hydroxychloroquine. And so what I'm saying is, to use the issue of healthcare as to a reason why people would rise up in Cuba makes absolutely no sense. These people are holding up American flags, right? American people aren't free. We're jailing journalists for exposing war crimes. We have the military industrial complex and state agencies naming people domestic violent extremists. We have them going around the world, coup after coup, bomb after bomb, and like I said, jailing the journalists, exposing them. So it's really interesting that it's...
So Pasta.
Yes, sir.
We gonna address this first.
Yes, sir.
Fiorella brought up a brilliant point. The very first thing before we even get into the straight up lies, the hypocrisy.
Yeah.
Now I know civil liberties is your thing. You're a civil liberties guy, is what Pasta.
You didn't know that? By the way, everybody, I'm a civil liberties guy.
Civil liberties guy.
Yeah.
So go ahead and talk a little bit, really quick, about what we're seeing, what we've been just the last couple of months.
Yeah.
When it comes to civil liberties, when we're comparing them to the accusations that are being lodged at the Cuban government right now.
Well, just recently I got a chance to meet John Shipton, Julian's father, and he talked a lot about the First Amendment, and it's kind of crazy to see how the suppression of speech in the United States has just been like censorship on steroids. And the fact is that they're trying to shut people out, like, Niko, like us, like Frank analysis and whatnot, by demonetizing us. They're trying to silence us, to shut our voice down. So for us to have this double standard that, we're free in a capitalist society, it just simply isn't true. It doesn't make a difference what ism you want to rock. You know what I'm saying? The predator class will shut you up and shut you down. But the way they're able to convince a lot of people in the United States that we are free and Cuba is not, it's just mind-blowing. I mean, look what they're doing. They're actually going around and suppressing speech. They're demonetizing people from this whole thing, which is awful. They're trying to say, you can't do this for a living. You shouldn't do this for a living. You have to go do something else, and not giving you your fair due. I mean, even the fact that...
And the reason why they're doing it is even more nefarious.
Well, yeah. The reason why is because they want to make sure that their narrative is always spoken. You know what I'm saying? That our narrative is put down. That's the number one thing, how you define fascism, right? Is the state has the control of the speech, not you.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I actually have not seen a single example of how people are silenced. Like in Cuba. I can't think of a single example. I know that from my understanding of Black history, when Black Panthers were being silenced, targeted, harassed by the U.S. government, or just by white supremacy in general, where did they run to, Pasta? I know you know a little something about Black Panther.
They went to Cuba.
Went to Cuba. And whenever Nelson Mandela was trying to end the South African apartheid, who did he turn to?
Fidel Castro.
Okay. And when there was a war being waged against the apartheid to end it, who did the U.S. fight for?
They fought for, you're talking about Batista and the...
No, the United States fought on behalf of the apartheid, literally.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yes.
Yeah. Like at the same time, Fidel was...
Yes.
Helping to liberate.
Yes. They wanted their puppet, Batista, in order to constrain all the corporations.
No, not the South African apartheid.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I'm sorry, I'm mixed up, yeah.
Yeah, no, South African apartheid has been there forever, but like since World War I. But, yeah, basically, Fidel always seemed to find himself on the side of Black liberation. And the people that y'all are agreeing with always seem to find themselves fighting for white supremacy, or at least the marginalization of Black and brown people. That's super weird, don't you think, guys?
Yeah.
This is
same thing in Venezuela, right?
Same thing. It's the same. Bolivia,
yeah.
I mean, what you want to pick? Like, just pick a country, any country.
Nicaragua
is the same thing over and over and over.
Honduras.
Yeah, exactly. And Honduras is even worse because that's like almost exclusively brown and indigenous people.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, they get treated like it too. But like, we don't even have to look at that. We can look at Africa. I think the biggest thing I can think of, and it's funny because I can't remember who I was talking to about the other day. I wish I could remember. We were talking about, it was actually Lucas Wagner, man. And he was like, man, you know what's interesting about the ICC, because he's a law major. He was like, isn't it weird how it's almost exclusively Africans and like maybe Arabs being prosecuted in the ICC? Isn't that funny? I mean, yeah, Henry Kissinger's walking around outside free as hell right now.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton is. Joe Biden's president.
Mm-hmm.
Obama got a Nobel Peace Prize instead of an ICC trip. But it's just super weird, right? How even in international criminal courts, it's still Black people being prosecuted more so than white people by a long shot. It's almost like it's representative of the country that put them in place. So what we are seeing is a healthy habit of certain governments and groups always being on the side of the marginalized in some way, form, or fashion. But basically, y'all on the side of Marco Rubio right now. It's not a good look for anybody.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and continue with what we got to say.
Seems right off the bat with the American flag, so placed right there, underpaid instigators waving U.S. flag and chanting USA, unheard of in Cuba. Absolutely true. In spontaneous protests, the empire should try harder in their acts of desperation as their world hegemony is declining. They will fail like they did in Venezuela and Bolivia, and that is true. As we know, in Bolivia, the United States helped coup Evo Morales. However, the people protested for over a year, came back and retook control. In Venezuela, the United States has tried time and time again to assassinate both initially Hugo Chavez and then Nicolás Maduro, and has failed as well because they have the support of the people. I don't know how people...
They just tried to assassinate Maduro again, just in case anybody's wondering. Just did it.
Yeah.
It's super weird, right? It was like 2 weeks ago. So you have the assassination of the Haitian president, the attempted assassination of Nicolás Maduro, the death of the Tanzanian president, I want to say the president of Zimbabwe, and then this situation all happening within a month and some change of each other. And everyone wants to, and don't forget the siege that we're seeing in Palestine right now from Israel. Like, they're even ramping up the violence in Palestine. So there's clearly an imperialist blitzkrieg going on. And once again, what you're advocating for, if you're Cuban and you're pushing for this, you're just pushing for, you say you're trying to help Cuba, you want to free the people, which is bullshit. That can't be what you want. Like, you're advocating to have your resources stripped from your country. Exactly. It will never be yours. It wasn't yours after the Spanish Civil War. I mean, maybe for white people, but even then, it was like under the condition of you're going to serve the empire, though.
Will continue to fall for this, but it seems like they do. So here, this person posted, Cuba en estos momentos, los cubanos quieren libertad. Cuba, in these moments, Cubans want freedom, right? And if you actually look into the video is of Argentina. It's of Argentina because they just won yesterday the Copa America, which is the soccer.
Bruh, hold up. Expose number 1. It's exhibit 1. Thank you, Fiorella. They literally posted a video of an Argentine celebration. And this shit got retweeted a whole lot of times. And sold it. Now, what's interesting to me, Pasta,
it's clever.
I thought Twitter's
clever.
I thought Twitter's supposed to take this stuff down.
Oh yeah, they're supposed to, but when it's for their narrative, forget about it, Niko. That shit's clever. And they're getting away with it. Somebody sent me that same thing. Like, look at the people. They want freedom. They don't want communism. I'm like, they're celebrating the soccer game over here.
Not to mention, why would y'all think it's necessarily against the government? What took them so long if they just, you know what I'm saying? Like, what took them so long? If that was the case. Like, I don't have to, like, France was out there protesting yesterday, possibly. You know that?
France hasn't stopped protesting, right?
But they ramped them up yesterday because, see, yesterday, for a lot of people who don't know, that was the French's independence. I want to say from Great Britain, and they spent their day for the most part in the streets trying to burn that bitch down because they actually understand the situation that they're in. You know, Greece even protested yesterday.
Really?
In millions in the street. Chris, shout out to Chris T. Sent me the videos.
Nice. What up, DeShillis?
Bruh, I don't understand. Why didn't CNN and Fox News and MSNBC give us wall-to-wall coverage of it, Pasta? Why wasn't it trending on Twitter? I'm confused.
Well, come on, it's part. It's so funny, Niko, because you know what I'm thinking about? I'm thinking about the setup, right? Like, they're able to sell this narrative because of the empire education they've already had that pre-programming in, right? Like, we go to school, Castro was a rebel, he was a dictator, he had the Cuban Missile Crisis, he didn't care about putting missiles there. Even the Black Panthers, right? They're bad, they're awful, they're radicals. So they teach us this stuff, so right now when they sell these little nuggets of, look what's going on, these people want these dictators gone, they easily buy it because the program The program is already
We've been
there.
Program since we was kids.
Yes, it's already there.
Remember we were joking the other day when I was like, yeah, you remember that bullshit they sold us about World War II, and you were like, oh yeah, like that Archduke
Ferdinand.
Everybody immediately knows exactly what I'm saying whenever I make, like, I just will casually off. Yeah, you know that thing they told us about World War I. Yeah, you mean Archduke? Everybody knows. You're like literally conditioned to respond with that. And I know some of you probably asked, well, what is the? No, I need to know the real reason. Like, you're not going to tell me that an entire world started fighting because of an Archduke who had no power.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, that's too complicated to get into. Just know it for the test.
Yeah.
Literally what everybody's told.
Yeah.
Because, like, the real reason is, you know, Cecil Rhodes worked with his counsel and Rothschild and J.P. Morgan, and they bankrolled the Bull Moose Party so they can ensure Woodrow Wilson won. And there's a whole complicated reason, but basically it comes down to we wanted to demonize Germany and Russia because they were beating Great Britain in America in the Industrial Revolution. That's what was happening. But you're conditioned to respond, our assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand.
Yep.
And you've never questioned it. Yep. That's the crazy shit.
It was a regime change war. We did that video when you came on the show and explained that to me. It was eye-opening. And all I have to do is look deeper. And one last thing, Niko, before I pass it on. You talk about the programming there. We talk about the way people respond to World War I. Look at the way Ryan Grimm's counterpart responded to World War II. Like, oh, it was about the United States defeating the Nazis and whatnot. She didn't even understand Russia's part. She didn't even look at the simple numbers that Russia lost close to 40 million people, where America lost a million. Like, she didn't even understand that stuff. Why? Because our education, our programming is completely different. It's to fit the narrative of the empire. Sorry.
Yeah. We're the heroes.
We are. We're Captain America going to fight Nazis. We're saving everybody and fighting for democracy. We beat
the Nazis by bombing the shit out of Japan. Does it make any sense to anybody? It's math, guys. Come on.
There you go.
You know, like the equivalent to the Euro Cup, but in Latin America, they won the Copa America final against Brazil. That is where this is from. This is actually Buenos Aires, and you can tell by the structure of the buildings. And this is just being promoted like it's real, like this is actually Havana with no fact checking online. And I just want to reiterate that notice how much the mainstream media has been lying, saying thousands of people are protesting against the government when it's actually hundreds. Also notice how the thousands protesting, the people that are there in thousands, are actually defending the revolution and defending the government, and how easily these posts get away without proof when they're about another country. This gentleman, Sergio Espinosa More, showed a photo saying, we are praising Argentinians for winning the Copa America. Very beautiful images from Argentina that have nothing to do with Cuba. But this photo that he posted is a march of the Cuban people in defense of the revolution. So this is a photo of Havana, just so you guys see it. So it's kind of ridiculous that these people get away with this. And it gets worse because this woman right here, JC, posted, Viva Cuba Libre, Viva la Libertad, SOS Cuba, Patria y Vida. Y she, it's literally a picture of Egypt's Mubarak stepping down. Like, bruh. That's the picture.
Okay. So I need y'all to, this got 118 likes, 100 retweets. Now I will say that even though this tweet's bullshit, you can tell that Twitter was kind of working very, very hard yesterday to ensure shadow banning. Well, really the last few days, like to ensure shadow banning was taking place. Mm-hmm. Because if you see 100 retweets, there's usually maybe double to triple the likes. That's how Twitter usually generally works. But they've been scrubbing all day, like for the last 2-3 days. But as you can see here, Fiorella caught him. I mean, bro, if you look in the map, I don't know if you saw this picture, bro. It's a bunch of Egyptian flags.
Yeah,
it's a bunch of it. This is crazy, bro. I just can't. I'm trying to wrap my mind around how people can't see the obvious here.
Yeah,
and I'm very thankful once again. Shout out to Fiorella for just
no doubt, my partner,
exposing. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Niko, the thing I really want to talk about too is kind of like, because this is something that, like, when we started together, you gave me some courage to say some things that like were not okay to say in the mainstream, right? Like Castro is good. Like he's done some good things. Like, oh,
yeah, he's done good things.
He's done good things. Well, I mean,
things.
you could say he's done good things for his people and he's done some bad things, whatnot. But at the end of the day, you always had to have that narrative. And it's kind of the position that the left neo-progressives put themselves out on an arguing point, just like what Jackson Hinkle was saying the other day. No mistake that Assad is a brutal dictator, but everybody has that talking point to say those things. And their argument is, despite the fact he's a brutal dictator, we shouldn't be there anyways. It's not our business. We should just stay away from it. That's not a good argument because you're still manufacturing consent to say that these leaders are dictators, and then eventually the right and the left would get together and say, no matter what, well, intervention is not okay, but in this case it's okay because this guy's a brutal dictator and we had to do it for humanitarian reasons. And no, we can't. We got to stop with that argument.
We got to stop with it because. It's not because okay, so when that happens, everybody here's the best thing you can do. Hey, are one of our allies doing the exact same thing, and what have we done about it? Because if one of our, which is almost always the case, if one of our allies is guilty of something, we haven't done anything about it, mentioned it, or you've never seen it on social media, it's because that's not. So that is probably not the reason we're attacking this country. Then you immediately go look up their natural resource. That is bro. But remember, we were doing the Bolivia thing. We're like, well, this is kind of a convoluted situation. Let's go look at what resource they have. It didn't. And then that was it.
The lithium light just lit up.
The lithium immediately. And oh, by the way, China's the number one producer of batteries, and China has.
And they owe the most of the contracts in there too. It's like,
the contract. You find out Bolivia's part of the lithium triangle, and it's just like, and then you figure out like that has a lot to do with why we're in Chile, and bro, it's not complicated. The only thing that makes it complicated is if you wrap your emotions around what, and that's a problem with a lot of the left. I mean, the right does it too, but I'm not as where the right's going. They do what they do, and you gotta. They don't know any better a lot of the times. The left be knowing better. They know better, and will still fall for the same damn trap over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And that's what, just look, it's simple. It's really that simple.
I think it's the emotional thing, Niko. It's not the fact that they know better, that they've emotionally twisted stuff, the CIA and the State Department, right? To think that if you're not going along with this form of imperialism, that we're trying to free somebody. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Like we gotta free Russia of Putin because he's bad to gay people. And if you don't fight for people of color or gay people, whatnot, and support Navalny, meanwhile Navalny is calling people who don't look like cockroaches in the Balkans or in certain areas. You know what I'm saying? And
when they were saying that, we still actually had, I think, equal marriage laws in place, and they hadn't even been the first time we started saying that, they hadn't even been passed yet, and they were still being disputed in court. And it wasn't Congress or the president who changed the laws. In fact, Obama was anti-LGBTQ, and so was Biden, so was Hillary. So was Trump. So was Bush. So why didn't we allow Russia to come liberate us then? I'm just curious. That's what it comes down to, bro. Or if we have such a problem with communists, and we're so ready to engage in such a contentious engagement, why do we not do that with China? Why aren't we trying to liberate? Now we try to liberate, quote unquote, liberate Hong Kong from China. That's not what we're talking. Hong Kong is its own thing. Why don't we try to run up in China the same way we run up in every other country we don't like? Because China lets us do what we want economically there. There's nothing they'll let us do. Okay, well, I guess that'll work.
Yeah.
Why don't we run up in? So then it's the other question. Once again, why don't we run up into Denmark?
Yeah.
Well, because Denmark's under a system of control that will allow us to do what we want. It isn't Denmark itself, but Denmark is under a system of control that lets us do it, which is the EU. So it's very simple. You got to stop using emotion to justify why you're parroting a narrative. If this was about Syria, would we have to have this conversation with the majority of people now? No, we wouldn't. So what's different about Cuba? It's because Cuba is what we've been taught. It's how we've been taught to react, and we have to unlearn so much before we can actually start having a conversation. We need to make sure, one, to start the road to recovery from this shit, because it's the damages for this stuff is crazy. But
yeah, the blowback is ridiculous. And by the way, when it comes to Bolivia, who was on the phone? What Congress member was talking to the opposition in Bolivia just recently? Wasn't held accountable for, and that's why I said they should be looking into this, because I believe it went all the way to Donald Trump. Was that Marco friggin' Rubio again?
Marco Rubio, yeah.
Oh, it was.
And Ted Cruz, actually.
And these pictures are getting retweeted by the thousands, and nobody's fact checking this. And this is what they use. And if you go to also Alan McLeod's tweet, and you can see this as well at play. You can see, in case you're wondering why Cuba is trending worldwide, this is how they do it. And they get Cuba to trend for, you know, oh, freedom. Cubans are all looking for freedom. Look at the thousands of people. Well, look at these accounts. Look at how they copy paste everything. It's like a network of bot accounts. They
literally
just
what you're seeing, people. Fee caught them copying and pasting the same exact thing over and over and over again. We've seen stuff like this during the elections. We've seen things like this about Assad, once again. We've seen things like this on either side of the BLM conversation. They're using the same shit over. The bots. They're bots. It's manufacturing an opinion, because I will tell you this, honestly, most of the country doesn't really care, unfortunately, one way or the other. Most of the country doesn't care. Most of the people that are pro or that are anti-Cuban government are here in Miami because their parents or grandparents ran here because they were white. And as we know, Fidel didn't really get along with white Cubans that much. More so, he was all about holding them accountable, and they wanted to maintain their bourgeoisie status, which also required black people remaining segregated, and the U.S. still running their country, and the mafia still running their economy. That's what they want to go back to. But the U.S. loves that type of stuff, which is why you have bots here. I'd love to know what that campaign looks like. I'm gonna let Feet finish up. We're gonna wrap up about this after I show y'all some pictures. You guys something you want to say?
I just want to say, when it comes to the economy, Niko, I can confirm from a good friend, we had a lot of interest there.
That's racist, Pasta. I know you're Italian.
That was my Marlon Brando.
Just because the mafia was running doesn't mean they were Italian, Pasta.
The Italian mafia was involved big time in the casinos, man. There were mafia members taking Kennedy down there and shit, and his brothers down there and stuff to go play. Believe you me, that was one of the things. The reason why Kennedy got whacked, they said, is because they didn't give Cuba back.
Yeah,
of tweets that are entered into the Twitter algorithm to create this trend. This has happened before. We saw this with Venezuela. We saw it with Bolivia. And it's nothing new, but yet there are still people on the left that for some reason are idiotic enough or maybe just useful, idiots for the empire to believe that this is anything more than manufacturing consent for a coup, right? Because
coup. We should make a song, Niko.
Call my friends up, let's cue. I want to show y'all really quick some of the lies. Verifiable lies that are being spread about the situation in Cuba right now. So, this is on Instagram, which makes this particularly dangerous, because people would just go and retweet this, repost on their stories. It says here, let me pull it up for y'all. It says, this person turned off their comments because they were getting exposed, by the way. The embargo is not responsible for Cubans being beaten and imprisoned for thinking differently the dictatorship is. So none of these things are happening. None of those three things. They're not getting beaten and imprisoned unless they're literally breaking the law. It's not a dictatorship. They have like 60,000 people run per year, and like 20,000 people win. And then the Castro brothers, obviously Fidel's dead. Raul stepped down in 2017. This new president was elected. And no one has actually ever brought into the question the validity of their elections.
Yeah.
I should also mention, the United States is the only country in all the Americas with term limits, because to be part of the OAS, when it was created, you had to basically submit to, which is actually probably the best thing to do if the democracy is allowed to take place. But basically, term limits are actually unconstitutional and against the OAS's charter, which is why Evo Morales was able to run and serve that third time and was about to serve a fourth, when he won. But they tried to say that he was being a dictator because we are so conditioned by our term limits of 8 years and only that one position in all the federal government. But so that we project that, that's what no, that's not the norm. They did that after FDR was about to have to pass the throne to Henry Wallace, and they almost got, Henry Wallace almost got away with, turned the country kind of socialist, to be honest with you. It was that close. And if he would have won before Congress got a chance to change that, we have Henry Wallace and then his son, probably, honestly, because he was he was going to desegregate the country. You told Great Britain to kick rocks. He wasn't going to be protecting their colonies in Africa anymore. Like, they had to make sure that they had. So whenever somebody gets out of line, either you replace them or they only got 8 years. We'll make sure we take care of the next race. And we'll spend the entire 8 years pretending as if those policies were a failure. So those things are all lies. The embargo is not responsible for sentencing hundreds of political prisoners who have not committed any crime. Pasta?
Yes, sir.
Hundreds of political prisoners who have not committed any crime.
Yep. Man, I mean, we didn't even talk about this embargo, right? Like, I mean, I think AMLO said it the other day. If America was really serious about helping out Cubans that they claim to help out, that they want to help out, that are being oppressed, then the first thing they would do is lift the embargo. Literally, just lift it out. Be humane, right? Okay, because who is the embargo really hurting? The most poor people on that Cuban isle, the most, you know what I'm saying, the most vulnerable.
Yeah.
In any situation,
Anybody.
That's what sanctions hurt. In Cuba, obviously, a system, it's going to affect the whole island and everybody involved. So if we were really serious about being humane and spreading a humanitarian message, the first thing we would do is lift the embargo, and we should. And nobody ever talks about that.
Yeah, shout out to Black in the Empire for the tips that keeps being a true family. Shout out to Slonuze Castro, the hero of Africa and Black liberationists. He said shout out to Fiorella for covering this. Yeah, Fee does amazing work. Also, really quick, you know what's interesting about this? I'll tell y'all. So this is how y'all know. Surprisingly enough, the world is becoming more educated. We've been hearing about this Cuba situation for quite some time. No one ever brings up the embargo. Back in the day, it would be communism versus capitalism. You know, Fidel as a dictator versus do you like Fidel? The conversation would evolve into that very quickly. Then you would have to defend something with this, because, you know, the embargo wasn't just a one-way thing. It also disallowed them from exporting information out. So you're not learning Cuban history. You're not figuring out Fidel is fighting, like that Black Panthers were running to Cuba, that Fidel was fighting to end the apartheid, and aiding the Caribbean Black liberation movements as well. You're not learning that because that information is not being taught here, and you can't get that information from Cuba. And so no one talked about the embargo before because nobody really knew. We know briefly, and we didn't know to the degree that how much it was causing suffering, but nobody talked about it. Now everybody's like, well, hold up real quick. What about this embargo thing? Y'all think that y'all should start? It's almost like they forgot that it was there. And everybody's like, no, that the embargo is what's causing all the problems. And now everybody is saying it. Also, the real accounts, like the bot accounts that are just, the real accounts are like, well, shouldn't we start with the embargo? Because you can't, if there is a certain, first of all, I truly believe there's a normal level of corruption, like any other government. It's a normal level. But that level of corruption gets exacerbated and is also somewhat incentivized. The moment that you make it impossible to become successful, you're putting everyone in a lose situation with very few victories in between. So now if I'm struggling, my goal is to figure out how to not struggle. And my goal is to do whatever I can to put me in a position to not struggle. So if I have to take a little off the top, I'm going to do so because I don't know what else to do. We're stuck. We're stuck in a lose-lose situation. And you see somewhat of an effect that, well, this person's okay with corruption and this person's okay with it. And so they become even more incentivized to be corrupt. So I'm not even saying that Cuban government's not corrupt at all. I don't know. But I would assume they are because they're a government and we're all human.
Yeah.
But they're also being put in a position where they are struggling, just desperate, that they're willing to topple their government.
Yeah. That's
or
the main
engage
thing.
in corruption in order to survive and overthrow their government. Yeah.
And they sell it as like, oh, you know, sanctions is a way to get a government to change their behavior. No, it's not. Sanctions are a way of turning a country against each other and starving the people out so that they eventually overturn the government, putting in place a puppet government that will be nice to the United States and give them what they want, which is most of the time resources, you know. And also, too, I think the fact that, you know, here's the thing. I argued with my friend the other day, really briefly, Niko, I'll be quick, about, like, you know, the fact is that, too many people on the left really just idolize Castro and Che Guevara, and they've done some really bad things and whatnot. I said, I don't think the fact that they're suppressing this information because, you know, really what's going to happen, we're not going to go all in for, you know, communism and let's you know, emulate and do exactly what Castro did and Che Guevara did. It will help us reach a middle ground. The empire doesn't even want us to reach a middle ground. They want it to be all their way or no way. That's why they suppress this information so we can't have conversations and kind of evolve to a nice system that has a little bit of everything, right?
Mm-hmm. They don't want you to have a choice.
Yeah. They don't want you to have a choice. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. No, but that's facts. Black in the empire said all they taught us that you couldn't get Cuban cigars. It's true though. The embargo. It says the embargo was not responsible. That while people outside the island were sending American dollars to their Cuban relatives through Western Union, yet the regime. It's not a regime. It's literally a democratically elected government. Yeah. Ours is a regime though. Exchanged them for the worthless Cuban convertible pesos. A dictatorship was. Hold up. Real quick. Did this man say the embargo was not responsible for a currency exchange? No, currency exchange is responsible for currency. Yeah, I don't know if you know this, but currencies, they can be exchanged. And actually, yeah, the embargo is responsible because it won't let you exchange your the Cuban peso out into the American dollar. Exactly. So yeah. That is responsible because literally they would be limited, and because of the instability of the peso, I'm sure that's there because of the embargo. You don't want to put them in a situation where it's like either worthless or whatever. Also, we have to take into account that probably Cuba wouldn't want American dollars floating around because then some people could flood the market. And we know that they've done this before. Okay, so the embargo is not responsible that the dictatorship that he keeps lying about builds hotels while the roofs of the Cuban homes fall upon their heads. Build hotels? You mean for the tourism that pays their bills? Since there's an embargo on their country, which cuts them off from the Western world? Yeah. They need to go to Bitcoin. I'm sure they are. They gotta do what El Salvador. Go to Bitcoin. Bypass the whole product. I'm sure they should. They may be already considering it. Yeah, they really should. I mean, it would really help out that country. It gets better. It gets better. The embargo is not responsible for prohibiting, fishermen from fishing. The dictatorship is. Do you know why there's a limitation on fishing in Cuba? Actually, we have fishing laws too. I don't know if y'all know that. We have limitations. We do. And do you know why? Because in 2013, their fishing supply got smaller and smaller and smaller. And this is actually one of the Cuba has some of the waters with the most abundant fishing supply. But because of climate change, like their shores are getting shorter, their fish are coming more seldomly. They were overfishing on top of that because of the market itself. And it would have killed an entire part of their economy. So, yeah, the government was responsible. That's kind of part of their job, to assess situations and make sure that there's no long-lasting impact that could affect their entire economy. Yep. But that's the empire education. Make them think that it's a dictator starving them out. Mm-hmm. And people buy it. They're not even letting them fish over there, Niko. Yeah. The embargo is not responsible for confiscating what the farmers harvest. That's not confiscating. That's making sure everybody has food. They have to, because we have an embargo. Who is saying this shit, bro? It's just this is the shit that people post. It is a psyop. They don't even check the lies. They're literally lying to you, without shame. But this is what we saw with Iraq. This is what we saw with Afghanistan. This is not new. This is what we saw with Libya, Syria right now. It's not new. But people will reshare it because the viral nature, virtue signaling is viral now. It is. It's addicting. Everybody wants to feel like they care. Or like they're doing something for society. Mm-hmm. Oh, I care. I'm there. I'm going to put myself on the line. Exactly. I'm being so edgy by saying exactly what we've been saying for the last 60 years. So edgy. Yes. The embargo is not responsible for prohibiting Cubans on the island from doing business freely. The dictator. No, it literally is the fucking embargo. The U.S. will fine you if you do business with them. It says it. I think the UK is one of the only ones with some exceptions, but even still, they have difficulty because of the embargo. Yeah. Like in the embargo itself, it says you will be fine. Not like maybe there's a chance. No, you will be fine as a business and as a country.
Yeah.
Are you? So yeah, it is. It's almost as if this motherfucker has no idea what embargo means, because he's just saying the opposite of what's true. It says the embargo is not responsible for destroying every sugar mill, textile factory, shoe store, canning factory. They didn't destroy every. No. That's not what. Actually, and I would imagine that at least some of the textile mills were probably destroyed by the Batista regime. Because I mean, I don't know if y'all know, but the WTO, which is also controlled by us, kind of like regulates what is not allowed to be exported and imported. It's the reason that our textile mills shut down. So we're not allowed to export as much as we used to. Like the sugar mills, I've never read anywhere that they were being destroyed. And if they were, I don't think they belong to the people who were liberated. So in revolutions, we call that expropriation. What's up, Pasta?
I was going to say, since the Cuban Missile Crisis, and because of the Cuban Missile Crisis, Cuba has had some of the strongest sanctions, hardest embargo, one of the tightest strangleholds from America and the West ever since that date. But in this gentleman saying this isn't responsible, the embargo is not responsible for this, the embargo is not responsible for that. Why is that? What is he saying for the justification for the embargo? And if somebody can give me a good justification, if you can even think of one of why there should be an embargo, please give it to me. Please give it to me. And please don't give me the excuse that it's to get rid of that government to free the people. That does starving people out and putting a stranglehold on a country doesn't make it better for them.
Yep. And let me be very clear about something. I know a lot of people say, well, no, because this is a communist leader, because Fidel's communist. No. Batista was communist also.
Well, when people say, well,
communist.
Why do you want, you want a communist country? You want a socialist country? You guys, you show the pictures of Che Guevara and Fidel and stuff. Like, no, listen, I don't want necessarily a communist country, a socialist country, a capitalist country. I say we don't have the answers. We have to have some type of hybrid system that is post the technocratic boom. What I do want is for us to stop intervening more than anything. Go ahead, Niko. Sorry.
Everybody wants me. They're like, oh, so are you a socialist? I'm like, oh, no, I'm not a socialist. They're like, well, why are you against capitalism? I'm like, well, I'm against any singular ideology, assuming that they can solve the complex problems of an entire country. You need to have mixed economies.
Exactly.
This is common sense shit. Whenever me and my friends, my family, your friends, your family, y'all have two different ideas, y'all have two different opinions, you figure out the best of both worlds, and you make the shit work based off of the unique dynamics of your relationship. That's called common motherfucking sense in problem solving.
Preach.
I've never been in this whole like socialist. I'm a leftist. I've never been in one camp or the other.
Yeah.
But I know enough about the socialist ideology. I'm like, well, there's a lot of elements of that actually would work. And I know that they would work if they were. Like, imagine if England had their system with all the access to the agriculture, minerals, and everything that we have. And the weather that allows our agriculture system for your maternal leave for like a year or two.
Yeah.
I can't remember which one. It's like 2 years. Yeah. Basically the most important years of a child's life. That's like, so I'm just trying to understand, why are we not out there trying to liberate the hell out of England right now? I'm just, if it's communism and socialism that's that bad, I'm just trying to understand, guys.
The empire doesn't want you to see the benefits of communism and socialism. They only want you to see the negative aspects, and that's it. So that's where they keep the information tight, they keep the information suppressed, and they feed you what they want you to think and see about Cuba.
Thank you, Cynthia, for the tip. And yeah, they don't want you to see the positives of socialism. They also don't want you to see the negatives of capitalism. I saw a brilliant comment in someone's the video for Fee that said
takes their tent down, move their shit, whatnot, and everything like that. They disrupt it all the time. So don't think it's like, oh, we're so free. And that's kind of like a low friggin' bar. You're so free to live in homelessness.
I know, but they were just being sarcastic. I'm like, that's not even true. That's how much freedom we don't have under capitalism.
Yeah.
So, and it said the embargo is not responsible for Cubans being paid in Cuban pesos while the regime sells everything in the stores in American dollars. Do you understand that that's literally impossible? They wouldn't be able to buy anything They're literally saying they pay in pesos but sell everything in the American dollar. Think about that. How does that make any sense? Especially considering, what did he just say? They convert everything to the peso. So what the fuck? People shared this. They didn't even like. Hold up. Let me make sure there's no source here. Because there's nothing. And it's like, also, the embargo is responsible for a lot of the things that are on this list. So there's that too. So as you can see here, and we can literally go on for hours just about the psyop that we're seeing here and the lies that have been told, whether it be about COVID and how that was handled, which they handled it way better than we did, or excuse me, than we, the United States. If it's about jobs, if it's about any of that stuff, even the medical system, like the problems with the medical system, there isn't the medicine, it's some of the infrastructure. But the infrastructure is a problem because of what?
The embargo?
Like, so even with their fucked up infrastructure, they can take the cure to cancer and put it in an inhaler. So how does that make us look?
Yeah.
And now someone was going to likely say, we do have a cure for cancer. Yeah, where is it? They're hiding it from you. We do. I know we have the cure for cancer because one of the professors from UNC and another Duke guy, they were two researchers, got the Nobel Peace Prize for finding it while I was still at UNC, and I never heard about it again. Hell, we have a cure for HIV. Want to know how I know? Because Magic Johnson is still alive, smiling at everybody that walks past him. And literally he does not have HIV anymore.
Yeah.
And everybody's acting real casual about that shit. Like, hold up. What do you mean you don't have HIV? He does not have it anymore. Because that's what money can buy you. When you're wealthy, super wealthy, extra wealthy, crazy wealthy, you don't die of cancer.
Yeah, it's funny, I didn't see a lot of billionaires die from the COVID. And maybe there was a Nobel Peace Prize winning doctor who invented a drug that helped cure the COVID before the COVID was the COVID. It's called ivermectin, right? We're on Rockfin exclusive. Think about that too, ladies and gentlemen.
Yup, that's facts. Ivermectin that Cuba allowed their citizens to use, interferon alpha 2B, which Cuba allowed their citizens to use, even hydroxychloroquine and zinc, Cuba allowed, based off of what because all of them have different side effects that could affect your body differently depending on what your vulnerabilities are. Like, so if you have a heart, they might prescribe you ivermectin instead. If you have a particularly low and depleted immune system, they might prescribe you interferon alpha 2B specifically because that replenishes the interferon that is reduced in order for the COVID virus to take hold and infect you. Like that's why their infections and deaths are so low. They handle and they did it with limited resources. So the psyop has been exposed. It's all bullshit. Stop listening to these people. They're full of shit. Learn, just believe what you already know. If you believe Joe Biden's been a liar, then why change your mind now? If you believe Trump has been a liar, why change your mind now? If you know Marco Rubio is a liar, why change your mind now? If you know that we're imperialists, why change your mind now? They've shown you nothing else but this. So why would you think this is any different when they've been talking about this for decades before me or possibly born? Mm-hmm. So
my mom used to say, if someone tells you the truth of who they are, believe them. Thank you, Hillary Clinton.
All right, man. So we're going to go on to this next topic, which is Kyle has left TYT, according to Jank. Now, there is a video out. I'm going to find that video real quick.
Yeah, I want to hear that.
But
I haven't heard it yet.
Oh, I'm going to pull it up then.
Yeah.
That was kind of unexpected, Possum. I ain't going to lie to you. Did you expect it? I didn't expect it.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm asking you. Did you expect it? Did you see it coming? At least like this week.
I'm not surprised, but I did not see it coming. I didn't,
So this is really why I didn't see it coming. We're gonna let Jank break it down for us.
Oh, let me hear this.
To progressive commentators, or I argue back and forth with them, and people I liked a lot in the past, right? Mm-hmm. And I still like them.
Oh, hold up. No, that's actually... that's Jank versus Jank. My bad. Ha! That's funny. Hold up. Let me find that video for y'all. I saved it in my bookmarks, but it didn't save. But basically, while I'm finding a video for you, what Jake said was that somebody gave us a super chat on their membership stream asking why don't they have more of the affiliates on the panels, because I don't know if y'all noticed their panels have been getting pretty thin. And by pretty thin I mean it's just been Anna and Jake basically. So somebody asked, well, why don't you bring more people on? Like Kyle was an example that was given, and Jake had to basically admit that he wasn't there. He's not with the TYT network anymore. Now, if I'm not mistaken, 2 weeks ago he was. Last week ago.
We don't know at this point, right? It's always a mystery with that.
Oh, we don't know.
We don't know.
Maybe he was. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe that wasn't it. Maybe this was a guy impersonating Kyle on camera every day and just co-opted his YouTube and try to make money off of him or something like that. I'm almost there. I had to go to one of my 50,000 group chats that they got us in. I mean, these group chats really be keeping us informed, though.
I know, man. We got some, like, I feel bad when I don't,
I gotta get through our group chat going in on Vouch for like 50 messages straight. Bro, they're like roasting Vouch. Come on, where are you at? I'm gonna find this because I need y'all to see Jank's face when he said this. He's not happy. And I remember whenever Jimmy left and Jank was pissed because that thing about being part of TYT is they get a percentage. Okay, here we go. I told y'all I would find it. Group chat coming through in the clutch as usual.
Matthew H. asked, been watching you since 2014. Just wondering when you'll have people like Kyle or Vosh on the Friday Power Panel.
So Matthew H. First of all,
I don't know enough about Vosh, but I'll look into more. I know that he got involved.
Pause this. Fuck this. Hold up, real quick. Why don't you have more people like Kyle and Vouch?
What is with this Vouch shit out of the blue, man? Like, really?
Kyle, that's not a good look for you, dog.
Oh my lord,
that's not
dude!
a good look for you.
When you're saying Kyle or Vosh. I mean, come on. Holy cow.
Imagine being Kyle and someone's... I've been watching you, TYT, since 2014. Why don't you have more people like Kyle and Vouch, the pedophile racist, on your show? Because he's also a racist. Jank is.
He's also a CIA talking point freaking imperialist.
He's been CIA. But anyway.
I mean, literally, that guy pushes CIA talking points all the time. Mm-hmm. When it comes to the Uyghurs in China, when it comes to freaking Assad in Syria. Wow. Mm-hmm. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
I honestly don't know enough about Vosh, but I'll look into him more. I know that he got involved in some of these controversies. But and we have people on from the network and our guest hosts more often. Kyle is no longer part of the network. And so he says that he disagrees with us on some policy issues. It is what it is. Good luck to him. And let's see if he can placate the people he's trying to placate. My guess is it'll end in disaster. It has already started in disaster, and probably will head in that direction. So we've had Kyle on many times before, and we had a great relationship with him. We've done many shows with him and supported him. Nowadays, though, he seems to be going in a different direction. Everybody's free to make their own choices.
Bruh. So
that was new, right? I mean, he said good luck to him, so that means that was something that's new, right? I mean, I don't know.
No. This is a video from like a few days ago.
That's what I'm saying. So this new movement with Kyle is something that has to be new.
Yes.
All right.
And he did not sound happy about it. He said he's gonna move in a different direction. I'm thinking to myself like, what you mean? I've been saying the same shit.
Yeah. What different direction is he moving in? I don't know. Small differences on the neo-establishment liberal bullshit right now at this point, with still propping up the Democratic Party as if it's a vessel for good that could beat these conservatives. But
isn't that's what Cenk says too?
I know. There's differences within it. You can be anti-Russiagate and pro-Russiagate, but still believe that the Democratic Party
he kind of was both. I don't know how to, it's Kyle. So the other issue is, last week, Kyle was defending TYT with all of his heart and soul. Now, if you all also remember last week, whenever I covered that, I was like, Yo, Kyle doesn't even like TYT. He does not like them. He told me he does not like them. He doesn't like Jen. He doesn't like Anna. Now I understand putting up with your boss type shit. Like, trust me. I've been a company man too. But the way he came out and defended them, and then that seemingly was in order to attack Jimmy. And it just looks even weirder because it looks like somebody's seeing him as an attack dog now. That's what it looks like. Because then you leave a week later, and it's either because you got tanked, your audience, because his audience is tanking. He's lost almost 10,000 subscribers on YouTube already. That's the only place he's at. People have been calling him out. People have been calling him outside of his name. I don't even go into the name they've been calling him. What's your read on this, man? What the fuck is going on? Why would he just leave after he just damn near crashed his career? It's funny that Jake said it's already ended in disaster, right? It's like it's ended in disaster because he
said the word placating, right? Like he's placating to somebody and whatnot. I don't know, Niko. What came first, the chicken and the egg? So I don't know who made the first move, who's doing what reasons behind the curtains, whatnot. Like I said, there are differences between TYT and Kyle Kulinski, but not much. They're still in the same camp. So we really don't know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? I mean, TYT, for the most part, Cenk and Anna, I mean, they are just so friggin' way off kilter right now, especially ever since they took that check from Katzenberg. But, I don't know. I really don't know.
Hold up. You mean this Katzenberg, the one that's been pressuring the city council to increase criminalization of unhoused people?
Is that Jeffrey Katzenberg?
Yeah,
because that's the same Katzenberg.
It's from July 12th.
Yeah, that's the one who worked at Disney. He paid his employees starvation wages. You know what I'm saying? Like that, didn't give him nothing. And it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Also a big Clinton donor. Worked for the Clintons.
Yeah, it's crazy because everybody's talking about how we take money from Jack. Jack also apparently you owe me some money, dog. I need that check.
Yeah, where's that check, Jack?
Come on, bro.
I want my check, Jack.
Come on, bro. I'm taking all these hits, and apparently you're supposed to be paying me some money. I ain't getting none of the money. I'm just, I'm hurt. Tell everybody we're friends. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Can I tell you the big difference between the MCSC network combo couch and TYT and Kulinski?
What's that?
We'll talk to people like Jack Posobiec. They ain't buttering our bread, ladies and gentlemen. We just have the gall to get in there and get dirty and have real discussions, not just participate in cancel culture and demonize everybody who thinks differently than us.
Plus,
that's the difference.
Jack knows he can't afford me. So also, if we're affected, quote unquote, by being friends with somebody who doesn't agree with us all the time, what do you think $20 million from a person who's trying to criminalize being poor and homeless would do to your network?
Yeah.
Now, last I checked, last week, and defended Cenk last week and attacked Jimmy last week, knowing what money they took, knowing the people they had on the network, knowing the shit that they were saying.
Yep.
So once again, it goes back to him doing at least bare minimum what I said was the problem last week. He will literally stab anyone in the back, say shit that he doesn't mean, pretend to like who he doesn't like, not pretend to not like who he does like, all for his career.
Yeah. And I agree with that, and that's something that Jimmy and Aaron, when they had their show, they said that they don't think he's doing it as a career move. I said, no, he's doing it specifically as a career move.
What else would he be doing it for?
Specifically for that reason.
What was the other option they gave?
Yeah. Oh, a giant virtue signal, I guess. I don't know. Image.
That would be a career move.
Yeah, image. Yeah, his image. He wanted to shape his image in a certain way
move.
For a certain crowd, for a certain group.
But the group you already lost. You already lost them.
Yeah.
I'm like, it is what it is. Kyle has had the longest leash in indie media history, and everybody knows it. Literally, he had a longer leash than TYT did, because he was even saying some of the stuff that they were saying and not getting the heat TYT was getting. This should let you know that a lot of the independent media, or at least the people who view independent, they're not with the bullshit anymore. And then once again, going after Jimmy and Aaron on the dumbest shit ever, and then Kyle specifically going after Jimmy on some shit that had already been resolved, and also wasn't what he tried to make it out to be. And also, I still believe he's a hypocrite. I know that he said he wasn't guilty of what he did to Fee. I'm here to tell you right now, I don't fucking believe him. I believe Fiorella, and Fiorella is a great journalist who does her research, and all the research that they put together tells me, and what I know tells me that he's a fucking liar, and he will lie to protect himself. And I believe Fiorella. So I don't believe you. And you've already shown over and over again your decisions and the lies you tell don't even make any sense unless you look at the only solution that is possible, which is, it's for his career. So once you've established that you're willing to lie, defend somebody in spite of what can happen to your career, leave somebody because of what happened, because you defended them, like cut off people because of your career, bring on racist pedophiles because of your career. I'm supposed to believe you want to lie on my colleague for your career? You absolutely would. I know you would. You know you would. Let's be honest. Everything goes back to Kyle's career. And for all the fuck we know, Kyle may have been fired, because this isn't the first time that Jank and TYT pulled something like this. Remember whenever Jordan got fired? Jordan got fired, and he got fired for using the company credit card and spending it to get girls drunk and sexually assault them. And he used to use TYT's lawyers, like the fear of the specter of TYT's lawyers, to threaten women who would speak out against him. Many of the women would come to me to tell me. And whenever Jank fired him, he said it was because he did something and abused the company credit card, and that was the reason why. And Jordan sued Jank for lying about why he was let go, which is weird, because like the real reason he let him go was even more like crazy. But he sued him and won, actually. So TYT is also going to do what it can to protect itself. And the main differentiator between whether or not people believe Fee and did not believe Fee was the legitimate or illegitimate nature of the Instagram account. Like, sorry bro, TYT used it. Like, TYT used it. If it was wrong, he would have corrected it then and there, because that's how Kyle is. So either he let them believe a lie. TYT, if they're going to be shady and hide some shit possibly, you can let me know if you agree with this. They're deliberate in it. They even make sure they edit and research and source to be deliberately misleading. They're not going to use your account as a member of the TYT network and be like, oh, sorry, our bad.
Yeah. Well, I made that point. And for the record, too, as well, we know that Fiorella did not lie. All she did was show what she had and what she got. Now, the point in case is, did Kyle lie? That's it. And that's where it goes. And we, like I said, as a journalist, I have to learn. I can't put out what I know. I have to put out only what I can prove. Mm-hmm. And that's why we did that situation, because it was a situation where it's like, okay, only a hacker, or if we wanted to get to the bottom of this right now, let's understand this. All we have to do is somebody has to make a phone call and say, okay, this person was impersonating me. Somebody slandered me from this person impersonating me. Whose account was this? Where did the IP address come from? But you know as well as I do, Niko, if we found somebody impersonating us today, it would be gone and reported by tomorrow. Yeah, you don't let nobody impersonate you. Immediately. That's ridiculous. Immediately. This is our livelihood. Okay? And we're not going to allow somebody we don't know represent us. And we're sure enough
by
not
the
going to
way,
give
for
an
those of
excuse.
you who are curious, really quick, after Kyle decided to smear Jimmy over the situation, the blackmail situation with Anna, Fiorella was so disgusted because she had known that Kyle had literally just hopped into her fucking DMs and was like, just straight up asked for news. Didn't even ask what her fucking name was. Didn't ask for her number. Didn't try to have a conversation. She said she felt objectified. She wasn't even saying everybody should cancel Kyle. She was just saying like, how could you be such a big hypocrite?
Yeah,
that was it.
That is something to very much point out. We said it's not a Me Too moment. We're not trying to tell you to cancel Kyle, and I'm certainly not telling you to cancel Kyle over this shit. It was about hypocrisy, and it was about the weaponization of this particular situation that's being used against people. Either that, or you're a Russian asset, and it's got to stop, because what I'm saying, we get into this kind of tactics of like, when we don't like somebody, we'll do anything to smear that person, even if it isn't true, or even if it's just something that
stops them from being hurt.
Exactly. So all we did was present our evidence, and then, like a lot of people were against it. We had our first type of retraction video, and once again, it wasn't with stuff we believe or know. It was stuff that we could improve, and it was a learning moment for a journalist, both of us, to say this is what we have to do going forward.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I get it, but still, you know, we laid it out there. You can't leave the, can't hold us against that.
Yeah.
You know, so
and they did their job as journalists. You know, they Fiorella said, like, if Kyle says it wasn't him, and I can't 100% without beyond a shadow of a doubt prove it's him, then she said I'll have to take the. She took the original video down. Okay, she did all that because Fiorella's a brilliant journalist, and she's definitely a little bit more altruistic than I am. But I don't really give a fuck about all that shit. I don't believe Kyle. I don't believe him, and I'm telling you right now, I do not believe him. Fiorella's being a great journalist, Pasta's being a great journalist and a great friend and a great partner. I'm telling you what the fuck I know, because I know Fiorella and I know Kyle both. And Fiorella does her fucking research, and she keeps a lot of shit close to the chest a lot of people would never know about. And the people who are out there attacking her, if I ever find out it was one of y'all and I run into you in person, I'm gonna smack the fuck out of you. Because Fiorella has never done anything but tell the truth. She's never done a motherfucking video to expose. That was it. Didn't take a cancel, said there's the information, make a decision. But instead of asking why there's so many inconsistencies with Kyle's story regarding that account and with everybody, with the account in general, they assume Fee was lying and was wrong and didn't do the correct research. That's not Fiorella, that's not Pasta, that's not Johnny, that's not the comic guys, that's not MCSC. So why would it be different here other than to protect his ass? And that's just what it is. I mean, Pasta, y'all showed on the original video, y'all showed a video of what, Kyle and Corin.
that was the second.
That was the second one. Okay.
Retraction video.
So the Kyle and Corin video, for those of you who don't know, Corin's Kyle's best friend. Even Corin thought that account was his. Now my best friend is David. I know which accounts are really David's because we're best friends. Pasta and I are great friends. If I saw another account with Pasta, I would know if it was his, and if it was not, I would not use it on a show and start off like I thought it was his. I would ask him because we're friends and we were sitting right next to each other. Corin, on a stream, asserted that that was Kyle's Instagram. And Kyle, oh, no, that's not mine. Kyle and Corin are best friends. TYT thought it was his. He was on TYT's network. I'm sure it is coincidentally around the time Kyle also got engaged. I'm sure you probably wanted to see them DMs, but
Look, listen, they can still make phone calls. They can get to the bottom of this right now. All Kyle has to do is call, report it to Instagram and say what's going on, and they'll figure out what's what. I mean, you know, it's straightening everything out right now. Some people have said to me, "Oh, aren't you afraid that Kyle's going to sue you for false information?" I said, if he sues me, guess what? That's discovery. Then we'll go find out ourselves who opened up that thing. And if once again, we'll apologize, publicly apologize, and we'll once again ask the TYT affiliate why they were, you know, once again, that was one of the main things and whatnot. And, you know,
if Kyle wants to sue us, it don't take but 2 steps, people. Let's go into discovery. Okay, Instagram. What email's connected with that Instagram account?
Where's the IP address? That's it. And everybody will know.
It don't take much, bro.
Yeah. It don't take much at all. We can get to the bottom of this right away. And I will stand up at the Capitol or wherever you want with a megaphone and deeply apologize from the bottom of my soul.
Yeah,
but
you know what I'm saying? No problem being wrong.
Yeah, but there's negligence here and stuff like that. You don't let somebody impersonate you, and that's why I think a lot of people who don't do what we do, they don't understand that. They're like, how can you not check that? People do fake stuff all the time. No, he said like somebody's been impersonating me for years. You don't let that happen. You don't let anybody impersonate you for 1 second. You immediately get flagged and taken down. Immediately getting flagged and taken down. And it's not a First Amendment issue where like, well, I'm not going to stop somebody for taking it down. That's not like somebody taking your clip and using your information. That's somebody impersonating you.
Facts.
You can't think for 1 second. You can't believe for 1 second that that's not going to enter somebody's mind. Like, what could possibly go wrong? I never thought anything can go wrong. Come on.
Have you had somebody imitate you yet?
Who?
On Twitter, you?
What's that?
Have you had anybody imitate you yet?
Not yet.
So
Not yet.
Me, Fee, and Misty, I can say for a fact, have all had people, and this MCSC channel, have all had people create fake accounts. And literally, the moment we find out,
report it.
We get everybody to report it from every group that we are part of.
Yeah. Now, if it's satire, a different thing.
But if it's even too close.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if it's like just you change one fucking letter.
Yeah.
In my handle or just on my name, but you're using everything else exactly the same.
Yep.
Sorry, you gotta go.
Yeah.
Like I don't care if it's satire. That's too close, and it's why you're doing it. And that, because in this field, your brand, trust me, Kyle is so brand cognizant. That motherfucker sits on fences so much, he probably got 2 butt cracks by now. Like, he's a fence sitter. We all know this. People forgave him because at least he got more issues right than he got wrong. But he's a fence sitter. He protects his brand at all costs. That's what he does. But he lets someone go around impersonating him on Instagram? Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Let's
and just, once again, the apologies that we made to our audience and whatnot, understanding that it doesn't make a difference what we know, it only matters what we can prove.
Mm-hmm.
That is something we're going to take with us for a long time. That is something we're going to take with us for a long time. And I do apologize that if, once again, for not completing the full circle, and maybe laying it out a little bit differently when we did put it out there and say, hey, we don't know for sure. We understand those things now. We're going to move forward and stuff like that. But, to say for 1 second we didn't do our due diligence, that's just wrong. Yeah. And it's really hard to still believe this side of the story. You still have to swallow a lot of things. And I get it. There were some people who said to me, like, I'm saying, like, Pasta, you should know better than anything. You can ruin someone's career completely. Yes, I do understand that. But this is information backing up why we put it out there. And now we're here saying that stuff, and I get it.
Once
again,
what I'm
saying, but we also said, don't cancel him. This isn't a Me Too movement. This isn't a Me Too moment. This is about just pointing out the hypocrisy. That's what we were trying to do.
There's a such thing in any accusation whatsoever. It's corroborating evidence. It's one thing if you're just saying shit and you're like, I just feel like this. There's another thing entirely when you have a bunch of corroborating evidence, and no one has ever corrected that evidence when they've had years to do so. And that's like just basic common sense. People who would say, "Oh, well, you should know better." If somebody had something on me where they could literally go to my Instagram and I have to prove it's on my Instagram and I've never said anything about it, and then if the Convo Couch used the Instagram oh man, look at Niko in this video, he said da da da, and it got this many likes, and et cetera, and I didn't say anything to them about it, which they wouldn't do because they would have asked to make sure it's my Instagram. Because that's what everybody would do, including, I'm sure, TYT. Because what if that Instagram later said something that was a little off kilter? They have to eat that up too.
Yeah.
And we know how brand cognizant they are. So, once again, I just want to make it perfectly clear. Fiorella's not saying this. I mean, Pasta saying it kind of. But I don't fucking believe Kyle. I believe Fiorella. I think Kyle's lying. It's a possibility because of what we saw happen with Jordan in TYT that he could have been fired. Who knows? Or there could have been an argument that happened where it led to Kyle leaving. It might have been a fire. It might have been some disciplinary shit. It might have been, hey, you need to correct the record because we use the right account. This is yours. It could have been a plethora of reasons. But I know that this isn't good for either side because TYT made a lot of money off of Kyle because he was part of the network, which means they got a percentage of his viewership, his ad revenue. Kyle is no longer protected by TYT's network, which means he's no longer protected by YouTube's algorithm, which means he's no longer going to get preferential treatment by the algorithm, which means his YouTube career might be on the way out. At least to the degree that that's been over the years, it might be not what it used to be. And TYT just lost another big. They lost Jimmy's channel, they lost Kyle's channel, and you do see Mike Figueredo and David Dole, but they're just fading on their own at this point. I don't think David Dole's part of the network. Emma Vigilant left.
Oh, hey, took a big blow there. Sorry. I'm sorry.
But Sam Cedar, his channel was part of the network. He's gone too. But I think that was just a mutual thing.
You know what? I'm just really, I don't want to say I'm really wanting and stuff like that. I'm just very anxious to get past all this BS and just still do concentrate on the policy parts where they, he says, well, we agree a lot on the policy. And it's like, no, there's a lot of policy positions as far as being a shit lib and still kind of carrying water for the Democratic Party that these people still fucking do. And that's something that we have to point out. Still using the terms like the Green New Deal. Oh, there's no Green New Deal in here like that. Hey, haven't we gotten past the point that we know that the Green New Deal is full of shit? It doesn't even kind of acknowledge the foreign policy. It doesn't come out now. It's like, stop with the bullshit game over there. We're not even there. We walked. We're out. We're gone. Nothing positive can happen within the Democratic Party. And if he's still kind of out there with that narrative, and anybody is still out there with that narrative like the TYTs, that's what they need to be exposed about, and that's what we have to keep digging into people's nose about and say, hey, listen, these are the serious problems. When they say, oh, we're there on policy, no, you're not. The ideology is still all about the Democratic Party, work within the Democratic Party, change the Democratic Party. It is not possible, whether it be Nina Turner, AOC, any of these other people you want to think that are the new savior here. It's walking time. It's been walking time, and we need to get out. And if anybody's in that camp, that's what they need to be shunned for, not this other bullshit.
Facts. Hunter C. Oh,
Hunter Carranza!
Thank you for the tip.
Just talking about you, Hunter.
Showing love. Gary B. He said, I think that this is all about publicity for Kyle and Crystal and their new ventures. Said Sagar too. Crystal comes from that sick system of big corporate media, and she plays the game to this day. Sagar bows down because Crystal has the connects to keep those advertisers. Kyle is just a slimy opportunist. It's interesting because I know that Crystal and Sagar said they were independent. But Crystal actually does have the money to be independent. Like, I need y'all to understand that. Crystal's worth almost like $20-30 million. She's a multi-millionaire. I'm not sure if Sagar is. He's well off, I'm sure. But Crystal don't even need this job. Crystal also used to be a neoliberal. Everybody knows that. Crystal also is kind of she is kind of a let's reform the Democratic Party type of person.
She is. Yeah.
So you gotta wonder, did someone crack the code and throw the bag at Crystal and obviously by extension Kyle to play the anti-establishment role? And because now you get the hill, people still think Ryan Green's progressive, and he's progressive enough to fool some people if they're initially watching. But now you get Crystal getting to play like she's the edgy, independent progressive, and people will still watch her. So you gotta wonder, did all of this stuff have a role? We don't know, but none of it looks good. At the end of the day, funny enough, I think Crystal might even be the most edgy out of Kyle, Crystal, and Jane. That's fucking sad. That's fucking sad, by the way. And we know that Crystal clearly has an agenda at this point. I feel like that's pretty obvious. So
having Vosh on just says a lot, guys. Having Vosh on, and when you have all these other great people out there you're going to have serious conversations with, and you're just going to leave them out. But it's telling.
Bro, having Vosh on and then doing a whole video to defend it.
Yeah.
That's the shit. Not just having Vosh on, but doing an entire video to defend it. That shit's wild to me. Yeah. Let's go ahead and move on to our next topic, which is Dr. West, your guy and mine. He has left Harvard, and he did not do so in a nice way. I mean, he did so in his super nice Cornel West way.
I have faith and confidence that Dr. Cornel West is going to make it out and be like Malcolm X before he left and say this Democratic Party is nothing but a bunch of shit libs. Do not pay attention to them, because he was still kind of that whole like, well, we gotta do this Biden thing and bite our tongue kind of mentality, and I didn't like that about him. But you actually made it well known, and I interviewed him about that.
Yeah. You presented some good arguments, and he even admitted, well, brother Pasta, it's hard to disagree with that. I feel like I just got, I agree with you though. I do agree with you.
Because it's like an impossible position, right, to sit there and argue in favor of this party. You know what I'm saying? And the only position you can argue in favor of this party was the position he took, which is that the Trump party is such a hardcore neo-fascist mentality, you know what I'm saying? But I didn't see any air between the Democrats and the Republicans, to be honest with you. And like I said, when it comes to foreign policy, the neoliberals were worse than they were imperialist. They
never let her talk about the All Fossil Fuels Act. They never let her talk about the Secure American Elections Act. They never let her talk about, I don't know, any of her bills to end any of the wars that we're in. Like, all of the bills that she's introduced to end the war that we're in. Like, she introduced a bill to re-solidify the Fairness of Media Act. Like, she was a firestorm in Congress. She was constantly putting out legislation. And her healthcare bill was going to be better than Bernie's. I mean, you just want to take my goddamn word on that. It was going to be better than Bernie's. I promise you it was. Anybody would kiss Bernie's ass unapologetically. And then Tulsi when it was time to defend herself, and that was it.
Yep.
And now, but make it clear that Crystal always said, I don't necessarily agree with her on Syria. It would never provide any information as to why. I don't know what's hard about the stance of I don't want us to be at war in Syria and I don't want us to bomb their country. I don't know what's hard about that stance, because that was Hosie's stance, and she would say I don't agree with her there. So anyway, let's check out this letter from Dr. Cornel West.
That's it.
Once again, the nicest way that he could put it. I hope and pray you and your family are well. This summer is a scorcher. Here's my brief and candid letter of resignation. How sad it was to see our beloved Harvard Divinity School in such decline and decay. The disarray of a scattered curriculum, the disenchantment of talented yet differential faculty, and the disorientation of precious students loom large. When I arrived 4 years ago with a salary less than what I received 15 years earlier, and with no tenure status after being a university professor at Harvard and Princeton, I hoped and prayed I could still end my career with some semblance of intellectual intensity and personal respect. How wrong I was. With a few glorious and glaring exceptions, the shadow of Jim Crow was east in its new glittering form, expressed in the language of superficial diversity. All my courses were subsumed under Afro-American religious studies, including those on existentialism, American democracy, and the conduct of life. No possible sum of salary alongside the lowest increase possible every year. Here, fucking my guy. Yet I delivered 2 convocation addresses and 1 commencement speech in 4 years. I was promised a year sabbatical, but could only take 1 semester in practice. And to witness a faculty enthusiastically support a candidate for tenure, then timidly defer to a rejection based on the Harvard administration's hostility to the Palestinian cause was disgusting. Ooh. We all knew the, good God, Cornell and these damn words. We all knew the mendacious reasons given had nothing to do with academic standards. When my committee recommended a tenure review, I also rejected by the Harvard administration. I knew my academic achievements in student teaching meant far less than their political prejudices. Even my good friends in the Afro-American and African Studies department were paralyzed, given their close relations to the administration. And after teaching extra courses, including 5 courses in 1 year, good God, this silence continued. When the announcement of the death of my beloved mother appeared in the regular newsletter, I received 2 public replies, just as that of my colleague, Dr. Jacqueline Olga Cook Rivers, who received none when her blessed mother died. Any ordinary announcement about a lecture, award, or professional advancement receives about 20 replies. This kind of narcissistic academic professionalism, cowardly deference to the anti-Palestinian prejudices of Harvard administration, and indifference to my mother's death constitute an intellectual and spiritual bankruptcy of deep depths. In my case, a serious commitment to veritas requires resignation, with precious memories but absolutely no regrets. Cornel West. Good God, bro. Even his resignation letters sound just immaculate.
Bro. Well, I wonder why they hired him in the first place if they didn't really want him there. I mean, everything that's in that letter is just an indication that they don't want him there. They wanted him to move on. So why hire him in the first place?
You can't fire Dr. Cornel West.
But why hire him in the first place?
He was there like 15 years ago.
He was? I thought he was at Princeton.
He was Jared's philosophy professor. That's how long he'd been there.
Yeah.
And Jared's Harvard undergrad and Harvard Law. So Jared has a master's in philosophy and then a JD. So yeah, that's how long ago he's been there.
Wow.
Yeah. So and he came back basically.
So
interesting about this. I will say this. Well, first of all, Cornell, we support you. I'm sure you can retire at this point. But I'm whatever venture you pursue, I'm sure, you'll be great. And despite our disagreements about the election, perhaps, which is basically the only thing we disagree on, if this is going to happen to you anyway. That's my question. Like, was it worth it? Like we see we see a blitzkrieg now. Pasta talks about this actually all the time, probably more than I do, about AFRICOM, how we've expanded our military operations in Africa under Trump, they were being reduced, not eliminated, but at least better than what it looks like now. We look at the Cuban situation right now. We didn't see something like this with Trump in Cuba. He did what he did, talked about communism, like, okay, same shit, different day. We didn't see this. What about Syria? What we know, Afghanistan, how he admitted he wasn't pulling out, Iraq, which he was the architect of, the crime bill. Like, you knew all this stuff. And now you're being punished for your politics anyway.
Yeah.
So do you feel like he probably has any regrets about 2020?
I think he does. Listen, if you go back to that interview with him that we had with him, Niko, he even says at one point, we talked about the election stuff, and he's like, I really didn't know a lot about that and stuff. Like, we didn't talk about that. So, he did it with a face too and a curiosity of that, like, well, let's talk about this. Educate me on this. And, the thing about Dr. Cornel West is that he always tries to be a gentleman and a statesman. You know what I'm saying? I want him to get a little bit more Malcolm X and be a little bit more like enough is enough, to call it out for what it is and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And I really embrace that and stuff like that. But there comes a point. There comes a shit line. And so many people have gone over the shit line that, I think Dr. Cornel West, with this move, you might see a little bit more of that. A little bit more of kind of exposing and calling people out. And not just the low-hanging fruit, some of the people upstairs. You know what I'm saying? And I think this whole Harvard thing is an indication that he's like, you know what? All right, the gloves will come off, if it does, that's going to open up a lot of people's eyes. He can really turn a lot of people who are on that neo-progressive fence that are still afraid to say the things that they're told they can't say. You know what I'm saying? Once Dr. Cornel West does that himself, you're going to see a lot of people follow, So I'm a little excited about this right here, to tell you the truth.
When Dr. Cornel West says, because it's coming, now that he's not at Harvard, I know him. Well, what was the point of us getting out Brother Trump and bringing in Brother Biden if he's going to be the same as Brother Trump?
Yeah.
When that speech comes, bro, you might see this bitch burn to the ground.
Yeah.
It's not, that is a game changer. Bernie's going to stay quiet because that's what he does now.
Yeah, oh yeah.
What's TYT going to argue with fucking Cornel West?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It will be exciting if he makes this move. There are going to be a lot of people that, and we'll see. You'll see by their reactions, whatnot, if they are for real or not. You know what I'm saying? Once Dr. Cornel West comes out, he even said on our show, it's a crypto fascism that, once again, the Democratic Party displays and stuff like that. But it's still a form of fascism. So why even split hairs?
But it's not crypto. It's civility fascism. It's
civility.
I say civility, but you say crypto fascism. And he's talking about like he was trying to combat Trump's loud neo-fascism. But I'm like, but the civility fascism is worse. And I've always said that. Like, do y'all know TPP is coming back? Do y'all know that? They're almost done getting the board together. I think they're doing the finalization of that shit like today or tomorrow. Yeah, it's coming back. The one good domestic thing, one of the few good domestic things I should say that Trump has done, is coming back. But all those taxes that Trump and the Republicans and the Democrats passed under Trump, those are staying.
Yeah.
TPP's coming back.
There's so many things,
bruh,
people aren't even paying attention to.
What do y'all think this Cuba shit's about? What do you think this Haiti thing's about? All for TPP to work, a lot of these countries, because of their specific type of resources, have to be under control. And it is what it is.
Yeah.
So what was, like, this is why I said, when everybody, and then of course the most important thing is, could people even know that this shit's happening? Because the civility fascism, that part is, we're shutting this down and censoring you for your own good. We're shutting this down so y'all don't hear. Do y'all know? You know what they said today, Pasta?
Big brother.
You know what came out today, bro?
What's that?
The Surgeon General came out today and said they're about to wage a war on disinformation for COVID. Now, whenever there's been an abstract idea that the U.S. government decided to wage a war on, it shit has never worked out for anybody, especially us. Honestly, especially black people. I don't know why everybody ain't figured that shit out yet. Every time black and brown people, anytime a war is getting waged on some shit, they coming for us.
Yeah.
I feel like vaccine situation isn't any different. That's why, I mean, you see all the pandering they're doing to black people. So, I mean, hell, we see what's happening in Africa. We see what's happening in Haiti. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But go ahead. What were you saying?
No, I was just saying, yeah. I mean, and when we're talking about back to Cornel West, as far as when he speaks, he can really do a lot for this censorship thing right now. You know what I'm saying? I was looking at freedom of speech quotes when I was getting ready to do my speech for the first Fuck Censorship movement, and I was coming across different people saying different things, and I think it was Frederick Douglass who said censorship kind of it harms two different people. One, the person saying it, because you're censoring what they're saying, but two, the person who can be hearing what's being said, those people too as well. And he really needs to speak out for this. This is something that Cornel West can really change the whole mood of and the whole mentality of a group of people, these neo-progressives, who think that this form of censorship is just good protection of shutting down evil people and their thoughts that should be shut down. No,
and
Cornel West speaks
decent
about
on
this.
that issue too. He's been decent.
Right. He needs to swing the bat.
Great on Julian Assange.
Yeah.
I'll give him that. He's always been great on Julian Assange. But I agree. Because it's not just that. Because what happens is how many people tune out when you're like, you say everything that you say, but then you say, well, we got to vote for Biden.
Yeah.
So like now it's different. Now it's like, oh shit. So now you're wanting to quit for your principles. Quit Harvard. Loudly.
Yeah.
Like letting everybody know. Everybody will talk about, because we're talking about Kyle. Oh man, he's doing it for his career, or he's doing it for X, Y, and Z, and he's doing it, the virtue signal. Yeah, I mean, Cornel West is virtue signal. He's virtue signal. He's not putting up with that bullshit no more.
Hey, listen, that was the thing. He was saying, you're going to vote for Biden. I can understand. You know what I'm saying? I get it, your choices and stuff like that. No, he needs to be more like Malcolm X, post-Mecca. You're a chump. You voted for them because you're a chump. You put them first. They put you last. You're a chump.
And then be self-accountable, too.
Yeah.
Like, just be, like, I got to play, too.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's not just y'all. Miss Dr. Cornel West, I was in the Matrix. You guys know that. I was on the council in the Matrix. That was Council Zion.
He was. That's what I said. I brought that up. He's like, he remembered. I'm like, you on the board of Zion. Come on now. You were fighting against the computer. You were fighting against the machine. And I mean, listen, it was a hard situation too. And there are some allies that Dr. Cornel West have that are like, it's like, and he's so great to them and nice to them. But, Mark Thomas Ridley, a guy who's in California, who's done some stuff when it comes to little fugazi stuff, that is, Niko, questionable shit and stuff like that, Here is Dr. Cornel West, who praises him as a friend and says he likes what he's doing and stuff. But those are the issues that we have, whatnot. Because you can say this is a person, I love him as a friend, but then you got to make sure you point out the differences in policy. Facts. You know what I'm saying? You have to do that. You have a responsibility to do that. So that is something that Dr. Cornel West, as a statesman, and I love that. Once again, that's the beauty of Dr. Cornel West. He said it's okay to love these people just like a good Christian. You know what I'm saying? Even on our show, you know what he said that was great too as well? He said, everybody's in a bad place. Everybody's in one point where they weren't there. You have to give people time to get there. That's why you don't demonize people. Everybody's had shit before in the past. And I love that about Dr. Cornel West. So, hopefully he comes out with comes out swinging with this one. Keep going, doctor.
We're all limited by our experiences, people.
Yep.
All of us. So, and Dr. Cornel West is one of the people that kind of taught me that, because I'm like, I used to be a firecracker my damn self. And
used to be?
I mean, nah.